fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Shard from the Transformers Legacy United line from Hasbro. So this is our third Rock Lord homage in the line, and it's a really cool helicopter. I think it looks awesome. Love the color scheme as well. Some nice artwork of the helicopter mode here on the front. And then we have some nice artwork of the robot mode for Shard and a close-up of the head over here on this side. Then you have your standard half of the United mural over here. Not too much going on at the bottom. Up here we have the Legacy United logo. And spinning it around to the back, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. And then, of course, as is the gimmick with all of the Rock Lords or Infernac universe characters, they're like the Weaponizers this year, so you can take them apart and make different pieces. Unfortunately, I do not have Gears yet. It is, I think, the only character or figure from the second wave that I don't have yet. Very highly sought after. But, of course, it's Gears. Can't blame it. Yeah, I guess Armorizers is the official title for these. So, yeah, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get Shard out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Shard out of the packaging. It's a pretty cool robot mode. You do have this giant kind of fin piece here for the helicopter that just kind of jets out. Your really only other option is to kind of bring this down and have it a little bit hang down there. But then it extends past the feet, so she would kind of always be pitching forward, so you're better off just kind of kicking this back. I wish it kind of unpegged. I mean, it could even make a melee weapon, but... And it seems like it would be easy enough because it doesn't really connect to anything else. I mean, it doesn't even really connect to anything for the transformation. So it seems like they could have easily put something in here and just have this peg in, or like have the peg here and then have the hollow piece here where it's wider. And then it could just peg in, but it is what it is. Overall, though, I do really like the robot mode. I think it's a cool design. I love the color scheme. The head sculpt is pretty great. You do have some light piping there for the eyes. Head can turn side to side. Really nice detail. All the colors are great. You have the kind of lime greenish yellow, the silver for the face, and then that kind of translates down here with this kind of, you know, spring green or lime greenish yellow, whatever we want to call it. Some more translucent plastic here. Some nice metallic green for the shoulders. Then you have the gunmetal gray here for the forearms and the hands. A little bit down here on the toes as well. Now, she does come with a ton of accessories. So you have these two pieces, which right off the bat we can peg into the thighs. Now, I don't know if it matters, but if you take a look on here, it does. One does say BL, and the other one does say BR. So I'm going to, you know, assume R and L for left and right, and then we'll peg those in here. So then this one is BR, and this should go into the right shin. I really don't think it matters, but I really like the look of that. Definitely beefs up the shins, gives her more of a rock vibe, and I think that looks really cool. You do have these two pieces, which are kind of like turbines for the helicopter mode, and you can peg these in pretty much anywhere you have the standard peg holes, either here on the thigh or on the forearm, something like that. And then you get four identical, like, well, they're going to be blades for the helicopter, but they're also kind of just like melee weapon blades. So you can do a lot of different things with these. You can peg them into the hands. The directions kind of show you putting one on the top and one on the bottom. You could do something like that in each hand, or you could just peg one onto the forearm like this, which I kind of like the look of that. I think it's simple, but I think that works. The other thing you can do is take this and peg it into this, and you can see how they have these kind of like little notches. I think that's to help them wedge into these little sections here, so you can kind of just pop this in like that, and then you would just, you could even, I guess, technically put one on here as well. You do something like that. Then you could either have her hold this like that, or you could peg it into the forearm, something like this. So again, you have a lot of options with these bladed weapons. You can do a lot of different things. I guess technically you could even kind of put these on the thighs like that. It kind of reminds me of the green helicopter from Energon. I think his name was Springer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. The old man, he would kind of shake his hips and fire the guns on his hips. So you could kind of recreate something like that. So you have a lot of options with all those pieces, which I think is pretty cool. And also, for some reason, you would rather put these like on the forearms to use as shields. You could always do something like that as well if you like the look of that better. You know, again, just a lot of options. I think it's really cool. You have a lot of options with all of the different accessories. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to put all this stuff to the side for now. Disconnect all of these. And then we will concentrate here on the robot mode. So we already took a look at the head a little bit. Head can swivel side to side. I don't know if I don't think there is a ball joint there. I think it's just a mushroom peg because I'm not really feeling any back and forth or anything like that. So I think that's just a swivel. You have a swivel here in the shoulder as well as a hinge out to the side. You have a bicep swivel right above the elbow. 90 degrees in the elbow. Nothing in the wrist. Oh no, I am wrong. The wrist does swivel. The hands almost look like they open, the way that they have this really cool detailing. It almost kind of looks like they would move, but they do not. But at least we get a wrist swivel there, which is nice. I believe we get a waist swivel as well. Yeah, waist swivel here. Hips can kick really far forward, really far back. They hit into this a little bit, but then pretty far out to the side. Now, it looks like there is a thigh swivel there, but that is a solid piece. The thigh swivel is down here right above the knee, and then you have the knee bend, which I would say is just about 90. And the reason for that is because it's a weaponizer. This can unpeg and become accessories for other figures, so that's why the swivel is down there. And then you have some play here in the ankle, front to back, as well as tilt side to side. So, really nice movement. I think they did a pretty good job with that. I like the look of Shard quite a bit. I love the color scheme. I love the rock motif. Articulation's pretty great. The other thing I didn't mention that you can do with these swords, of course, they are going to become the rotors of the helicopter. The directions show you kind of like angling them down like this. So you could do something like this where just all the blades angle down if you like that. If I can get this to peg in, there we go. So you could do something like that. Conversely, you could angle them all up. Unfortunately, well, I guess I could just rotate this down, rotate this up, and then put this back up. That's probably the simpler and easier thing to do. Now, the only problem is if you have them up, gravity will make them fall down. But I kind of like this look. I wish there was a way to lock this in place because I actually think that looks really cool. Kind of putting these all up like that. You can kind of get it to balance. But, I mean, if you move it around at all, it will just kind of fall. But I wish there was a way to kind of lock it in because I kind of really like that look. I think that looks really cool. But it will not balance all the time. The other thing, of course, is you could actually just bring these and peg them in. If I bring these around, this is how they will connect for the helicopter. Something like that. So you could leave it like that and that will stay. So if you like that look, you could do something like that as well. So again, a lot of options with those, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, they did a great job with the robot mode. I like this quite a bit. I like all the options. I mean, you have so many options of what you can do with these bladed weapons. And I just think that's really cool. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the transformation. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the blades of the helicopter on because this is the configuration they'll be in for the helicopter. And you can leave them on. They won't get in the way of the transformation, which is nice. So we are going to start by kind of straightening out the arms. And then we are going to want to rotate them 180 degrees like that. So that this little bit of rock is facing inward. Do that again over here. And then this whole section here, grabbing onto this, will actually pop away and rotate back 90 degrees. And that's because you can see that there were clips. There was a peg hole there and a peg hole there that pegged into this and this. I'm sorry, this one here and this one here. This one comes into play later. These two down here are what holds kind of the chest in place. So once those are unhooked, then you can lift this up. Now there is a connection port, little peg right there, which also connects in right there. So chest is pretty shored up, even though it's pretty much completely hollow. You're going to bring this up, and then the head will rotate into this little translucent cavity up here. Now just be a little careful when you do that, because you kind of have to move this forward. You can't like straighten this out and then come straight up, because this peg will hit into this part here. So you kind of have to like leave this down, have this come up, and then rotate that up so that you clear these panels on the side. but that is basically how that will be. Then you're going to come down to the legs, straighten them up, flip the feet up, just like that. And you can see there is a little bit of a hollow cavity there, but it's pretty negligible, and will definitely get covered up by those feet. Then we are going to rotate these 90 degrees out to the side so that they can peg together like so. Then we are going to unhook this so you can see that there's two hinges here. There's one here in the front and there's one in the back. We're going to start off by unhooking the one in the front and just kind of bringing this down. Then we're going to utilize this one in the back to swing this back like this. Then we can bring this big section down. And you can kind of see that there's a cutout, and that's for this big hinge. So this is going to come down and sit on top of this. You're going to just push these up again. Now you can see that there is a tab on the inside. Let me move the arm out of the way temporarily. There's a tab right there, and that will tab in to this little tab hole. Let me go ahead. There we go. Right there, that is going to tab in. So when we push this in, and it can take a little bit, but once you push that in, that should peg into the side of that, and do the same thing over here. And that will pretty snugly all connect together. Then you can push this up as far as it will go. And then this is going to come up, and there are two tab slots underneath here and here that these two tabs will peg into. And it can be a little difficult, but you just have to kind of mess with it, and they will peg in. And then there's kind of pegs here, but they just kind of rests in there. It doesn't like depend on those pegs. It really depends on the pegs that are in this section. But there you go. There is Shard in helicopter mode. So for some last finishing touches, we have these little pieces here, and they are going to peg into these spots right here. And you can see that there's kind of a little indent right there, and that is for these little pieces right here. So when you go ahead and peg these in, that'll kind of just fit perfectly into that little indented area, just like that. So we go ahead and pop these on both sides, and then you are officially done, everything connected. And she's got those jet turbines there on the side. The helicopter blades spin pretty well. I think that works out. And this thing is just awesome looking. It's just a giant rock helicopter. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I love it. I just think this is so great. Also, I think on one of the streams they said that Shard is made out of pieces of chaos. There is an episode from season 3 of G1 where I think it's like Blur and Cup and maybe Blaster, a couple other assorted Autobots go to this planet, and Cup is telling them this war story of this monster they fought one time called Chaos, and there's this big like radioactive green rock monster called Chaos. And so the lore is that Shard is made out of a shard of chaos, and I think that's really cool. It's something they definitely did not have to do, but I just think that's really neat. Just kind of lore building off a random throwaway episode of season 3 of G1, and I just think that's really neat. But this is just such a fun transformation. It's a fun little rock helicopter. When they first said they were doing, you know, the Rock Lords as vehicles, I didn't really know what to think, but they've all been pretty great so far. I mean, Magnius was a fun little truck. The motorcycle's name is escaping me at the moment, but he was, you know, all right for a core class. I love this. I think this might be my favorite so far, just because the colors are so bright and so fun. The different shades of green and yellow all really work well, and you know, the gradient going from one to the other, it's just great. This is just really fun. And then you have that extra bit of lore connecting it to Chaos from G1. I just think that's so cool. Yeah, this is really great. I mean, it's a simple transformation, but it works. It holds together well. It looks great. Yeah, I love this. I really, really like this a lot. Now, when it comes to the weaponizer aspect of Shard, you can actually pop the arms off completely. You can pop the legs off at the knees. And then, of course, you can take all of the blades off. And then I guess you just put this section off to the side. I don't know what to do with that. I don't think that breaks down any further. But then they kind of have you just kind of take this, you know, you can do something with these. You can, of course, take these pieces back off. Let me see if I have anyone handy. Let's see if we can use Sunstreaker from yesterday. So we could kind of peg these in almost to make like a giant bow. Something like this. I don't know if that's going to work super well with his giant hinges, but maybe if we do something like this. So you could kind of make a bow in that regard. Is there anywhere I could peg this in? I guess if I took the guns off, you could peg these on. Something like this, which is kind of weird. But you could do something like that. Maybe angle these and put the blades in here. Something like this. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go along. But you have a lot of options. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. This probably isn't the best example. He's just the first guy I had handy because he doesn't have a ton of ports all over, but we could give him some snowshoes or something like this. You know, it's just typical Weaponizer stuff, so you can kind of do whatever you want. Maybe give him one of these giant turbine swords, something like this. Yeah, he's not cooperating just because of all of his kibble, but you know, something crazy like this. I mean, you can kind of do whatever you want, but just to show you the pieces that can come apart and the different wacky stuff you can do with the Weaponizer aspect of it. I think Shard is a ton of fun. I love the color scheme. I love the rock deco. The alt mode's great. The articulation's good. The head sculpt's great. I don't really have anything to complain about with this one. If I had to say anything, you know, maybe some of the connections are a little tight, especially with these. You can see that the paint is already starting to rub off. I think what happened was, you know, these are the standard size, but then they painted over them, and so now they're just a little too thick to connect into some of the places. So when I'm, you know, pegging these into the forearms for the vehicle mode, it's really snug. Probably what will end up happening is the paint will end up wearing off. That's really bad on that side. And then it'll probably get a little bit easier as we go. But that's really my only complaint. Otherwise, it's a really fun figure. I mean, it has the Weaponizer capabilities, armorizers, whatever they're calling them now. I gotta be honest, that's not a huge selling point to me. I very rarely ever use that. It's just a fun figure, just on its own. It's a cool little rock copter. And yeah, it's just great. I mean, if you love that aspect of it, it's there. If you don't care about it and you're just buying it for a cool rock helicopter, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Like I said, I really never utilize the armorizer aspect of it. It's cool that it's there, and if I want to use it, it's there. But just as a figure that I, would just keep in robot mode, transform it. The nice thing about these, back in the day with the Weaponizers, you had to kind of take them apart and put them together differently for the alt mode. That's not the case anymore. You can just completely leave this figure together, transform it back and forth, and never even acknowledge that it can come apart as a Weaponizer or armorizer if you don't want to. So I like that that option's there. It's just a great little robot mode, a great little alt mode, and just generally a pretty excellent little rock copter. So definitely recommend checking this one out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.